Right now on the National Weather Desk, trouble in the tropics. 3 disturbances are now brewing, and one could become a named storm at any time.
We could see some kind of low-end hurricane or maybe a tropical storm moving across parts of the Leeward Islands.
What is seen in Utah, where heavy rain triggered mudslide, and imagine being this boater so close to a lightning strike. 12 years after a devastating derecho will help you better understand these destructive storms.
The high winds, falling trees, and flash flooding that come from derechos can be very dangerous.
Sea turtle nesting season arrives in South Carolina.
Fewer nests and in more false crawls.
How you can see an asteroid that is passing close to Earth tomorrow morning, and how the weather can impact 4th of July fireworks shows.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. We are tracking the tropics this morning, where right now there are 3 different disturbances. One of them could be a named storm by the end of the day. Meteorologist Lauren Oleski has details.
One that's going to be moving into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, 20 to 30% development chance through the next 2 to 5 days. Nothing we need to be concerned with. And then there's 2 more waves that are out in the eastern Atlantic right now. The one with the higher development chance, we'll talk a little bit more about since it's currently across parts of the Atlantic Ocean. It's the red X you're seeing there. And then there's another one just behind it. Now, we'll watch this. This likely could become a depression by the end of the day today or tomorrow. A lot of agreement with our models that we could see some kind of low-end hurricane or maybe a tropical storm moving across parts of the Leeward Islands by Monday. And then from there, the models are diverging a little bit in terms of where this is going to go. If this impacts the United States, if it stays together, it's still about a week away or so. I'm not up in arms panicking about this impacting us in any major way right now. As we continue to get closer to next week, we'll watch it closely and I'll keep an eye on it for you.
And cleanup is underway in parts of New England after a tornado ripped a 4-mile path of destruction Wednesday night. Aaron Coogan spoke with Rhode Island residents who said this storm was unlike anything they have experienced.
From Lincoln to Cumberland, Chepachet to North Attleboro, repercussions were felt far and wide.
You know, these old, big, beautiful trees, it's a shame that, falls down. Look at the openness now.
For Steve Lisker, who's been working to restore a decades-old home, all his work upended in a matter of seconds after a tree in the lot came crashing down atop his home.
I guess it's somewhat lucky because I could have lost anything or lost the house, right?
It wasn't the only damage on his property.
We lost a silver maple on this side. On the back of the pond, we lost about a dozen more trees.
Lisker says fallen trees and scattered debris almost paint the storm's path perfectly.
I think the path went from the house across the street where the trees blew over and landed on the car and might have come right through here.
Meantime, neighbors stepping up to help redirect traffic. Gloucestertown historian Edna Kent says in her 3 generations of living on this very block, she's never experienced a storm quite like this one.
It was over very quickly. It was still raining, but it was over very quickly. I said, that's no normal storm. That was a tornado.
Thunderstorms pounded central and southern Utah yesterday. The rain triggered flooding and mudslides in Moab. That's near Arches National Park. The flooding left behind a lot of mud, branches, and even some rocks on the road. Lightning from the same storm also struck water next to a youth group that was hiking. 7 people had to be taken to the hospital, but none of the injuries are considered life-threatening at this point. A short-lived weak tornado touched down in eastern Florida yesterday. It was only on the ground for a few minutes, but it caused a lot of damage here to several homes as well as trees and also power lines. And here's a scary shot right here. Look at this, capturing lightning striking the water off the coast of North Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, just a few feet from a boater. Now, we don't have any information about the person in that boat. You can see the boat right over there, but we can imagine it was very scary. The threat of severe weather today is in the heart of the nation's midsection. Kansas City, Omaha, and Des Moines are at risk for large hail, damaging winds, and even a few tornadoes. A smaller risk extends to Denver, Minneapolis, and St. Louis. The threat moves then to Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York tomorrow, and the East Coast from Virginia to Maine on Sunday. And of course, many areas are still under heat alerts today, impacting 50 million people. Temperatures will top 100 degrees in places like Dallas and Oklahoma City, but with the heat index, it will feel more like 110, and it will stay hot all weekend long. And have you ever noticed that the temperature your local meteorologist gives you is sometimes different than what the thermometer says at your home? There is a reason for this disparity. Meteorologist David Boyd explains.
Well, it could be because at home, thermometers can get into direct sun, but the official recording is always shaded. At home, dark colors can absorb heat, but the official recording has white paint around it, reducing heat absorption. At home, nearby houses, concrete and asphalt can add radiant heat. Meanwhile, this Stevenson box is placed 4 feet above ground in an open field. Another thing to keep in mind, car thermometers. They're usually located on the front grille, which means they're pretty close to the ground and they can pick up heat emitted from pavement. So car thermometers give us a general idea of temperature and changes in temperatures while traveling. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist David Boyd.
Air quality alerts are posted in California's Central Valley as wildfires continue to burn. And the alerts will remain in effect until the fires are out. Myra Franco has more on how to protect yourself from poor air quality.
The Valley Air District issued an air quality alert Thursday, warning people to limit their exposure outdoors as a result of the wildfires burning in eastern Fresno County. We caught up with Dr. Angela Sabri with Premium Allergy and Respiratory Center on how you can protect yourself from poor air quality.
Definitely the obvious, which is stay indoors when you can, keep windows and doors closed. But perhaps some not so obvious things are if you're going to run your HVAC system, make sure that you're actually having it on the setting where you can recirculate indoor air. If you think about it, you don't want it pulling in that polluted air indoors.
Why? Because those pollutants being released into the air are carrying
a lot of little particles that can go into our airway and cause all kinds of really irritating symptoms. People might notice that they're getting a really sore throat, cough, shortness of breath, itchy, watery eyes. Those are all things that we suffer when we're exposed to it.
Dr. Sabri making a point that everybody needs to take these precautions into consideration.
But sensitive groups would be ones like children, for instance. Their respiratory system is just not quite developed yet, so they're at a higher risk. Elderly, also pregnant women, those are all people that we think of as being a little bit more impacted.
Experts say the alert is in effect until the wildfires are out.
2 asteroids are flying by Earth this week. The first one actually came by yesterday afternoon. It was 7,200 feet long and was more than 4 million miles away. That's 17 times further than the moon. A second asteroid, much smaller, passes by on Saturday morning. That one will get a little bit closer, only 180,000 miles from Earth. And get this, it was only discovered less than 2 weeks ago. You may even be able to see it, but it's going to be moving very quickly. You'll need a good telescope and a cloud-free sky at 9:46 Eastern Time tomorrow morning. So far, the loggerhead sea turtle nesting season is off to an unusual start in South Carolina. Well, some areas are seeing lots of nests, others are below average. But as Katie Salt found out, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Not only are we seeing less turtle activity this season, but the activity we are seeing is resulting in fewer nests and in more false crawls.
The false crawls are 25 nests laid despite 68 attempts. Usually that percentage is much higher. This isn't a surprise, though, for the folks at the Folly Beach Turtle Watch program. During a year where the beach is seeing a renourishment, turtles see obstacles.
Clutter and lights and noise and activity associated with the renourishment.
The beachfront got dangerously low on sand late last year, so the boost is needed. And while the turtle nesting patterns are impacted, the Turtle Watch is working alongside the contractors to make sure the mama turtles and their nests are safe. More than 20 nests have been relocated out of the renourishment zone, some to the eastern end, other nests to the west.
If we left the nests in place, they'd either be covered with sand, or when they hatched, the hatchlings couldn't make it over the pipe.
While this year's nests are down by about half so far, the future looks brighter.
The year after renourishment, we usually have a lot of nests.
And the suspected first green sea turtle nest of the season was found in South Carolina earlier this week. They were able to tell it was green, a green sea turtle, because of the track pattern that it left behind. Volunteers went to work relocating the 141 egg nest to a safer location. And if you're looking for more great weather content, be sure to check us out on social media. Just search the National Weather Desk. You'll find us. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how drought and extreme temperatures are impacting farmers and their livestock in Oklahoma. And we're going to look back at an historic storm to help you better understand derechos.
I'm meteorologist Emily Stanton. Let's look at the highs in the Northeast for today. Most areas will be in the 70s, near 80 degrees. We're looking at 80 over for Buffalo, New York, 80 for Syracuse, 77 over in Albany, 76 for Boston, 75 in Portland. Friday will be a very dry day, a great end to your work week. We'll be dried out and clearing towards the 2 o'clock hour. Most areas will be in the 70s. You'll start to notice some more clouds begin to move in ahead of some wet weather later on this weekend with temps in the 60s.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Your Friday's looking dry and spectacular. We'll have sunshine, but it will not be as hot or as humid. But as the humidity rises, our chance of rain and thunderstorms will come up too. Next front arrives late Saturday. We'll see a good shot for rain and thunderstorms Saturday and again on Sunday. Temperatures will be very nice on Friday again. Highs only in the mid-80s with lower humidity, but high humidity and higher temperatures in the mid-90s for Saturday.
Good Friday morning. Meteorologist Michael Ehrenberg here with a look at your Southeast regional forecast for this Friday. There's going to be a lot of heat and humidity, and that's going to pop up showers and storms throughout many parts of the Southeast, getting most numerous in the mid to late part of the afternoon. And then as we head on into the evening hours, those storms will die down. The least chance for storms will be across parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi with some slightly drier air out that way. Hot highs everywhere in the 90s, 94 in Nashville, 91 Jacksonville, and 91 in West Palm Beach.
The National Weather Desk.
Heavy rainfall at a state park near Amarillo, Texas sparked flash flooding recently, forcing all the trails to close. Drew Paul explains why the type of dirt at the park makes flooding so common.
Our trails are soaked. We have places on trails that are holding 3 to 4 inches of water. And it's just going to be a while before we can open those back up.
Restructuring the landscape is too big of an undertaking. So between evaporation and runoff, you have to wait for the water to subside. Rain this spring and summer means all trails have to be closed again till they're safe to reopen.
So our soil type here in Paladero Canyon is a mix between sandy, clay, loam. And with that, it really doesn't soak up into the soil with all the amount of rain we have.
If the ground receives too much too soon, it can result in mud flow or rock slides.
When that rain comes so fast, so quickly, it starts eroding that soil from the side of the canyon wall. And so that did cause a minor rock slide.
We had some bridges that were recently placed due to our flooding. Yeah, we need a good week or two dry, sunny, windy conditions to help reopen these trails.
It's going to be very hot again in Oklahoma with excessive heat warnings for much of that state. Ryan Sockett looks at how this has impacted livestock farms in the region.
In addition to all of the daily chores, then you add on kind of our hot temperature chores. So we've got misters set up on all of our chickens that are out on the pasture.
Nate Bolak, the CEO and co-founder of Prairie Creek Farms, says their hot temperature chores also include filling hundreds of gallons a day and watering all of their watering holes for their different groups of pigs.
The cattle, we rearrange, we run a rotational grazing system, so we rearrange our grazing system to make sure they always have access to a large pond.
People are starting to get concerned about lack of rainfall.
Barry Whitworth with the Department of Animal and Food Sciences at Oklahoma State University says that if we don't get rain soon, producers may have to consider selling some animals at markets because they're not going to have enough grass to take care of their animals.
That's a concern, I think, for any farm, especially, for our cattle, which they eat the grass. You want the grass to continue to grow.
The term millibars is commonly used to measure atmospheric pressure. Meteorologist Kate Alexander explains how pressure measurements relate to heat.
As many of you know, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration 2-week outlook is calling for above normal temperatures for much of the southeast. And there are some large-scale features meteorologists look at to determine long-term weather patterns. One of those is the thickness of the atmosphere, particularly the 500 millibar level. Millibar comes from the original term for pressure, bar. Bar is from the Greek baros, meaning weight. When we're talking about the 500 millibar level in the troposphere or the weather layer, we're talking about the height and weight of the atmosphere. Millibars are a unit of pressure because the air, as light as it may seem, is exerting pressure. When the air warms, it expands, and when it cools, it contracts. But during the summer, when forecast models and ensembles are indicating contour lines getting higher, well, this means the air aloft is going to be sufficiently warm to thicken the atmosphere to that height, and is likely suggesting above normal temperatures. Long-term ensemble data is suggesting just that, a thick atmosphere and temperatures running above normal.
12 years ago tomorrow, a powerful and extremely destructive derecho tracked across the Midwest and into the Washington, D.C. area. The storm followed a 700-mile path from Iowa to the Atlantic. Its winds, many of which topped 70 miles an hour, killed 22 people. It was a Friday most people living in the D.C. region remember very vividly. During the day, the temperatures hit around 104 degrees. By nightfall, though, hundreds of trees were toppled and more than a million and a half customers lost power. Meteorologist Emily Gracie takes a closer look at the power of derechos.
The Spanish word actually means straight ahead, referring to the strong straight line winds associated with this type of storm. Think of it as a massive and long-lasting severe thunderstorm. The National Weather Service classifies the derecho as a storm system covering more than 240 miles, with most of the path experiencing wind gusts of at least 58 miles per hour or stronger. These conditions usually occur during late spring and summer when meteorological factors are just right. While derechos are most commonly seen in the Midwest, they're still relatively rare. On average, you might come across a derecho about once a year in that region. But sometimes they can even reach as far as the East Coast. Have those emergency weather alerts activated on your smartphone and have a plan if a warning is issued. The high winds, falling trees, and flash flooding that come from derechos can be very dangerous. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie.
While not as dangerous as a derecho, microbursts can also cause serious damage. Meteorologist Katie Morgan explains what they are.
Have you ever wondered, what is a microburst?
Okay, so a microburst is a lot like what we're showing here with water hitting the floor or concrete. It spreads out at the surface. It's a localized downburst of wind, less than 2.5 miles wide, but the wind spreads out at the surface and can do quite a bit of damage.
Well, you know, weather impacts every facet of our lives, including fireworks displays on the 4th of July, which is a week away. Meteorologist Violet Skyber explains.
The weather actually does play a role in what the fireworks look like. So the four main weather factors that impact the fireworks show is the wind. If we have too much, that can blow those missiles off course when they're shot into the sky and make it look a little bit different than what it's supposed to, the firework itself, making it look a little choppy. If the winds are too light, then after the firework goes off, the smoke looks to stay in place and block the view of the next firework that they'll be shooting off, and it can even cause some air quality issues at the surface, especially if the smoke is landing right over the crowd. Another weather factor to keep in mind is we obviously need clear skies. If you have a black background because of the clear skies at night, that can lead to a better view of the actual firework colors themselves. And we need dry air conditions. Yes, the humidity plays a role in what the fireworks look like. If it's more humid, the colors of the fireworks are less vibrant. Plus, warm temperatures help as well. That helps the smoke from each firework to rise away and clear the environment for another one to go off, so being able to view that firework a little bit better.
And now let's check to see the weather at popular summer weekend destinations across the country. We'll start in Catalina Island, one of California's Channel Islands, and just 22 miles from the mainland. No surprise, the weather will be fantastic this weekend with sunny skies and highs in the low to mid 70s. Well, plenty of folks looking to hike this weekend will be in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, gateway to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Unfortunately, there could be showers today through Sunday. Highs will be in the upper 80s. Maybe you're thinking about keeping cool at a water park. Well, this is Great Wolf Lodge in Tannersville, which is in Pennsylvania's Pocono Mountains. Today's forecast looks great, but there's a chance of scattered showers tomorrow. And of course, there's the sun, fun and cool ocean breezes at the beach. This is Pine Knoll shores along the North Carolina coast. There's a chance of rain all weekend, but certainly not a washout here. Highs will be in the mid-80s. And time now for a short break, but first we soar over Packer Meadow and Montana's Lolo Pass.
Well, good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael taking a look at your weather story across the Midwest. We've got these thunderstorms across the central part of the Midwest. 104 in Wichita today. Woo, it's going to be hot and windy there, partly cloudy as well. Now we're going to be dealing with that rain moving its way closer to the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley as we head into your Saturday, including a chance for maybe some strong to severe storms across the Ohio Valley. And then heading into Sunday, a lot of us will be dealing with more sunshine, a few thunderstorms in Wichita.
Good Friday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region. And the afternoon, a lot of hot sunshine, 90s, low 100s. Of course, it feels hotter when you factor the humidity. Could get 87 in New Orleans with a couple cooling showers and storms near the Gulf. Saturday, again, we're talking about heat, humidity, maybe a spotty shower storm. Louisiana, East Texas. Then, of course, attention turns to the next weather maker. The days ahead, Saharan dust moving in Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right up in Oklahoma City with hazy skies.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson, and here's what's happening across the West. Excessive heat continues all through inland valleys of California and into Arizona. Triple-digit heat continues. Phoenix at 110, while we're just getting back to normal in temperatures for the Pacific Northwest, where higher pressure building in is going to bring lots of sunshine, but daily showers and thunderstorms continuing for the inland northwest, southwest, right in the Four Corners, and that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
And time now to check in on the weather for this weekend's big motor races in Nashville. Here's meteorologist Brandon Lawson.
We love the Music City. The track is awesome. It's around the Nashville SC Soccer Stadium as well. It's a packed area, but we got to be careful this weekend, folks. Drink plenty of water and lay off some of those greasy foods at the concession stand if you can. 90s this afternoon in Nashville. Heat indices near 100 degrees, so please be careful out there. Then as we go into your Saturday, we should see the heat cool off a little bit if we get some storms, but still going to be hot, still going to be muggy. Temperatures in the 90s, heat indices probably higher than that again. And then we're tracking scattered showers and storms for the afternoon and evening, and some of those could be on the stronger side. So heads up there if you headed to the Xfinity race on Saturday. Truck races today, just be very, very careful. Should be dry today. Saturday we track some storms, but then Sunday it's still hot and humid. And I do think we'll still see a few storms around for Sunday as well. So just be very careful with the storms and also the heat. A lot to track in Nashville this upcoming weekend.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Friday. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you right back here on Monday.